Welcome to both sides of BeehIves. I'm Beth Arts Ives. As a neurodivergent and disabled social worker and writer, I seek to create meaning and to connect dots. My aim is to increase empathy by bridging the distance between our own human experiences by talking about my life and the stories of my clients and community. I'm really glad you're here. Today's video is going to be a reading of my work, Little Miss Almost Missed This, and the stories that go along with it. As a millennial, I grew up with the idea and the character Little Miss and the many adventures and big feelings that they encountered. Little Miss Almost Missed This was inspired by that and this idea of what could a new person or new character be to add to that family. It's inspired by my own story and all of the folks that I know who are currently living and existing when maybe they defied the odds and it wasn't always guaranteed to them. I'm going to begin by reading what I have written and then sharing a bit about how it came to be and where it has gone from there. Little Miss Almost Missed This. At a young age, I became petrified of dying prematurely, fearing I'd be met with a fight, that I'd be forced to succumb. For anxious folks like me, it's a tale as old as time. The more control that we lose, the more fragile our tempered hourglass begins to feel. In those days, I convinced myself that I would live to be 100 and promised my soul that I would keep it safe at all costs. I was indifferent to living a life worth living. With foreign bodies non-consensually entering me, I only allowed myself short, shallow breaths during moments of non-existent pause. With legs that felt stuck in quicksand and colons as blocked as my heart, stricken hands held what little I had together as my mind, far from sane, tried to do its part. Time began to fall out of line with me, never giving me enough hours during my fantasies, always giving me too much when I was no longer in make-believe. Unsurprisingly, despair and overwhelmed replaced my enthusiasm and delight. The sparkly light and head-back laughter others had become accustomed to were hidden, nowhere to be found. Made worse, few noticed my spiral into nothingness, my reluctance to dream and proceed, a life of my own like my innocence all but gone. I was still commended for my cheerfulness, my inner child's attempt to play pretend, when I wasn't free to play, barely able to speak. Having been previously adorned for my silver lining attitude, a source of entertainment for many, a girl resolute to find a positive spin, silently foundering in chagrin. The days of waking up long before dawn, eager to see what day that I'd meet, were replaced with a reluctance to leave my bed, rarely ever before dusk. My understanding of myself, my understanding of this world, my understanding of my body, like the sand in an hourglass, began to quickly run thin. Yet, as you meet me today, in present day, I can see how my sorrows influence the woman I have become. But to me, they are mere moments, not the focus of this picture I vowed to frame. As I finally occupy a space and witness others in this place, they thought and attempted to miss out on. I may not look at a rainbow with the same innocence and glee of a much younger me, who believed in its omnipresent nature and was curious about its spectrum. For now, I meet it with wonderment and curiosity of just how far its colors may stretch, where on this earth and in my heart it may touch. I experience moments I thought I would never see again. An elderly duo cherishing each other, a giggling baby overcome with its own contentment, a boisterous dog with something to say. A heartfelt song sang with intensity beyond the moon, and I feel waves of emotions I thought would never find my shores. I see leaves change and it leaves me speechless, at the way the wise old tree somehow knows that part of it must die to unearth the newness held inside, not seeing it as a meaningless, wasteful death of itself. I feel the loving care of my creatures, and I don't want to instinctively pull away, for fear that getting close to them may mean hurting us both. Knowing now that the depth of my humanness is what they crave, confident there are many risks in this lifetime, but loving me isn't the worst kind of pain. I have days when I open my eyes and do not dread the chance to see what may come my way. No longer fearful that life may incapacitate me or destroy the seeds of reprieve I have carefully sowed. Petrified once again that I will be buried before I ever have the chance to feel the sun. These days, I'm left wondering if the darkness within me has always coexisted with my loveliest parts, long before I had the words for the thoughts in my head and stories in my body. For maybe back then, the dream of an expansive life brought peace and promise, unknowing hope that I would maybe get to the good part, that maybe I would find solace and fortitude, that maybe I would cultivate a life and a community for myself that I would never, ever want to leave. I'm grateful to myself, to my people, to my fellow humans who've at times doubted this opportunity. The ones who have defied the odds, found calmer waters, found warmer beds, found softer places to lay down their head, instead of believing they were better off for dead. I salute the human in me and the human in many that question what may be etched on our stone. I commend us for existing within the dash, not some definitive slash. For believing in the souls we lovingly and fearfully keep, that we may meet a dynamic tomorrow, introducing ourselves to the world with bold and brave titles like Little Miss Almost Missed This. I've had the privilege of reading Little Miss Almost Missed This to a couple different audiences over the last year. My dear friend Leanne allowed me to be her opening act at her American book launch last April in New York City, and I had the pleasure of reading my poem to other folks who definitely could relate to what I was sharing. The good part looks different for many of us, and sometimes the good part takes years to get to. Sometimes it's in an instant things can change. But this belief that maybe things will get better, that maybe things will change, that there's dynamic and opportunity and possibility still to come is something a lot of us hold on to. And I feel really grateful that I'm in a season where I feel that in my bones. I mean, I just came back from a walk with my dog Penny, and we were both covered in mud, and we met a new friend at the dog park. And that is the moment that I hang on to. When the sun is shining and I get to connect with humans and I get to do normal, real life, and I don't want to miss out on those moments. I don't want to be absent from them. And sometimes I write poems or personal essays or stories or even chapters of my book, and after the fact, I don't relate to it. I've written some really hopeful, optimistic works in the past that a couple months later in a depressive episode, I don't relate to. I don't really recognize or connect with the Beth that wrote that. But that's what tells me that things are always moving and always changing. And if she felt it then and I can't relate to it now, that means there's a possibility that maybe I will feel like that again. And I'm lucky that in my case, that is what happens. My health and my disabilities and my mental illnesses and all of that is constantly changing. And a lot of time that is irritating. It would be really nice to just feel well and to be in the good part at baseline or at normal or my usual. But I know that my story and my experiences like this are not unique. There's lots of moments that we all come to or experience that weren't destined. They weren't guaranteed. They weren't promised to us. And Little Miss Almost Missed This represents that to me. And the moments that I want to hang on to, the moments that I want to still have, and what missing out might look like for some folks. I'm also currently doing my Master's of Fine Arts and Creative Nonfiction at the University of King's College in Halifax. And while it's mainly online, I get the pleasure of going out east for residency every year for 10 days. And we do readings and folks get to read snippets from their books and other works that they have written, articles they may have out there. And I didn't sign up to do a reading because disability-wise, I didn't think the timing was going to work out and I wanted to give it my all. But I'm really lucky that on our last day, unfortunately, one of our guest speakers wasn't able to join, and our team was, trying to figure out how to fill this gap and connect. And I let one of my profs know that I had something that might be really meaningful and a way to close out the residency for my classmates. And so I went up, and in front of my peers and some of the most talented writers I've ever had the privilege of knowing, I shared Little Miss Almost Missed This, because I was meeting folks who were going back to school. They had taken time off from their own dreams to raise humans or to support the careers of other folks in their household, or to take care of themselves, to make money, to, do intensive treatments. There's so many different reasons. And I know what a privilege and pleasure it is to be doing something for yourself and to be pursuing your own goal. And for a lot of us, that is what we hang on to. And I mean, my goal is writing a self-help book that will hopefully reach lots of folks and create that empathy and connection that I'm seeking. But regardless of what the good part looks like for you or for my classmates or the folks at Fountain House I had the pleasure of reading to last April, I hope that we all get to hang on to the good part, and that we get to reach it, and that we get to have the moments that I had today where I'm really grateful to be here. I'm glad I didn't end my life. I'm glad I didn't hit the stop button before my time was up. I'm glad that I'm still here, even though it is hard, and some days it is a bigger fight than I would like it to be, but the people are what make it worth it for me. And I will end by saying, I told my beloved sister-in-law that I could see Little Miss Almost Missed This being on a cup someday. And when she got me for Secret Santa this year, this was in my stocking. And it made me feel so seen and so loved. And like my hanging on and almost missing this, but still being here was worth it and noted and witnessed. And those are the moments I hang on to. Thank you.